it. So awesome, everyone. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today about the 401k. The new 401k plan is really awesome. You guys are really going to get a lot of great benefit out of it. So let's just dive right in. So first of all, there's really two companies at play here. The first company is the company I work for, which is called Retirement Plan Consultants. We are what's known as the advisors on the 401k plan. So any advice related questions can come to me and my team. We would love to help out. What's a good advice related question? Well, should I do Roth? Should I do traditional? How much should I be saving? What should my investments look like? Those type of questions can come to me and my team, and we'd love to help you guys out there. The next company at play here is called Slavic 401k. They're actually the ones who are going to hold the funds for your 401k. So they're going to be the ones that you sign in through, the ones that you can adjust your 401k inside and things like that. So those are really the two companies at play here, and we'll just dive right into the plan features. So each 401k plan is unique in its own way. We call the uniqueness of the 401k plan the plan features. So these are the different plan features in your plan, and we'll walk through them line by line, just so everyone can be aware of how this plan works. So first of all, there's an effective date of January 1st, 2025. So that's officially when the plan goes live and you're able to start saving money into the 401k plan. Eligibility, you do have to work for the company for at least 2 months before you're able to participate. All that means is, hey, 2 months from your date of hire, so not 2 months from the effective date. So as long as you've been with the company for more than 2 months, you are able to participate in the plan. Contribution sources, you can do both pre-tax and Roth contributions, and we'll talk about the differences between those here in a few slides. Loans, you can take up to 2 loans from the 401k at once. Now, why would you need to take a loan from the 401k? The dollars inside the 401k you cannot access until you're at least 59 and a half years old without a penalty. So you are able to take loans to kind of get around that rule, but 401k loans tend to get a little tricky. So if you are thinking about a 401k loan, I would just encourage you to meet with me or a member of my team. We'd love to help you out. Just understand that better. And then match. Your company is offering a match. And for those of you who don't know, 401ks do not have to have a match. And your company is offering a match, and it's offering a really great match. So you should feel lucky to work for this company. I can tell that your employer cares about you just by the match here. So the match is 50% up to 6%. So essentially, if you do 6%, your company's going to match that with 3%. So as long as you do 6, you're going to get the full employer match of 3. Vesting, that's a word that's really not used outside the 401k world. All that means is, hey, the employer's putting in money on my behalf. So if I do 6%, my employer's going to match that with 3%. When does that 3% actually become my money? Meaning if I left the company tomorrow, would that 3% go with me? And how it works is it goes on a vesting schedule. So your vesting schedule is 2-year graded. Now, what that means is after you complete 1 year of service with the company, 50% of everything that the employer has put in and will put in will move with you if you left the company. After you're with the company for 2 years, 100% of anything the employer has put in for you will go with you. 0 to 1 years, 50% of the employer match will go with you. 0 to 1 years, 0% will go with you. 1 to 2 years, 50% will go with you. 2% or 2 years and onward, anything that the employer has put in will move with you to a different employer. So that's the vesting schedule. This next piece is really important. This is automatic enrollment. So after 2022, all new plans have to have automatic enrollment to be compliant with the government. So new regulation came out that said, hey, not enough people are saving for retirement. We're making automatic enrollment a law, basically. And so what that means is if you do nothing, you will be automatically enrolled at 3% of your pay, and that increases by 1% each year until you're at 10%. So just so you know, if you do not want to save money in the 401k, you do need to go in and opt out. It's very easy to do. I'll show you here just in 2 slides how to opt out, but you do need to opt out if you do not want to participate in the plan. And I can't stress that enough. Most of the questions I get are, hey, money's getting taken out of my paycheck. What's going on? Well, it's because of this auto enrollment. You do need to opt out if you do not want to participate in the plan. And then last but not least, estimated census data is December 25th. What that means is you will not be able to enroll or opt out until around the 25th. So we're assuming that's going to be around the 25th. It could be a little sooner or a little later. Your employer will receive an email from Slavic basically saying, hey, this is all the enrollment information. Your employees are good to enroll. Once the employer receives that email, he can send an email out to everyone that says, hey, you officially can enroll in the 401k. So we're estimating that's around the 25th. It could be sooner, it could be later. But just so you know, you won't be able to go through the enrollment process or the opt-out process until your employer receives that email. And then that's pretty much it for the plan features. I know we have a few people listening live. Do we have any questions on the plan features before we move forward?
I think so.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep going. So next, we're going to walk through the enrollment process. And the enrollment process is very simple, but I do like to walk people through it just to make sure that they have a good understanding of how it works. So first, you're going to want to go to slavic401k.com and click either of these enroll/opt-out buttons. Once you do that, this page will come up. This is where you will opt out. So if you do not want to save money in the 401k, and I know I sound like a broken record saying this, you do need to opt out. So this is where you'll do that. Again, slavic401k.com, enroll/opt-out, opt out, click that button, enter a little bit of information, and then you'll be opted out of the plan. If you would like to participate in the plan, you'll enter your social security number and your date of birth here, press continue, and then your personal information is going to pop up. Just make sure everything looks correct there, press continue again, and then these four boxes will pop up. This is really the first question of 3 questions you have to answer in the enrollment process. The first question being, how much do I want to contribute to the 401k? So again, you can choose 6, 8, 10%, or other. If you choose this other button, these boxes will pop down and you can say exactly what percentage you would like to do pre-tax and exactly what percentage you would like to do Roth to the 401k. Now let's talk briefly about Roth and traditional, otherwise known as pre-tax. Let's talk the difference between these two. So essentially what happened is the government said, hey, we need people to save for retirement. So we're going to give them some sort of tax incentive to do so. The main difference between Roth and traditional is when you get that tax incentive. So Roth, you're going to get the tax incentive in retirement. Traditional, you're going to get the tax incentive today. And again, traditional is also known as pre-tax. So how this works is with Roth, let's start with Roth. I'm going to prepay my taxes before the money goes in the 401k. It's then going to grow tax-free, and I'm going to pull that money out tax-free in retirement. So let's say I make $100 in the year and I want to save 5% Roth to the 401k. Well, before those $5, right, 5% of 100 go in the 401k, I'm going to pay taxes on those. So instead of $5 going in, only $4 will make it in. Now, the downside is I pay tax today. The benefit is those $4, they're going to grow over time. When I pull those dollars out in retirement, let's say they grow to $20, I'm going to pull out all 20 tax-free. So I'm not going to pay tax on any of that. So again, Roth, prepay my taxes today, it grows tax-free, I pull it out tax-free in retirement. Traditional or pre-tax is the exact opposite. So how that works is I don't pay my taxes today, I defer those taxes to the future. So how would that work? Well, let's say I make $100 and I save 5% in 401k, 5% of 100, obviously $5. So those $5, I put those in the 401k, and those are excluded from my income in the year that I put those in the 401k. So at the end of 2024, when I do my taxes, I made 100, I put 5 in the 401k. Instead of paying tax on 100, I'm only going to pay tax on $95. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm lowering my taxable income for the year because the dollars in the 401k, again, are excluded. So the benefit to traditional or pre-tax is I'm going to pay less dollars in taxes this year. Now, the downside is those $5, they're going to grow over time. And let's say they grow to $25. When I pull those $25 out in retirement, I'm going to pay tax on all 25. So the 5 I put in plus the growth, I'm going to pay tax on all 25 of that in retirement. So that's the main difference between Roth and traditional, and it's all about how they're taxed. Now, the question I usually get is, well, Bridger, what should I do? What's best for me? The answer is it depends on your financial situation. I would love to meet with you one-on-one if you want to dive into it and we can help choose together. A good blanket statement would be if you're younger or in a lower tax bracket, Roth makes a lot of sense. And if you're older or in a higher tax bracket, traditional makes a lot of sense. So that's a good rule of thumb. Of course, that's not perfect, but it is a good rule of thumb there between Roth and traditional. Now, that being said, you can also do both. So if you're not sure which one you want to do and you want to make sure you get the full employer match, so you're going to save 6%, you can split up that 6% however you'd like. So if you want to do 3 Roth, 3 traditional, 4 and 2, however you want to do it, as long as you're doing 6% between the two, you'll get that full employer match of 3%. Last thing I'll add here is there are contribution limits to how much you're able to contribute in the year, depending on your age. So if you're under the age of 50, you can contribute up to 23,500 into the 401k between the two. So I could do 13,500 Roth and 10,000 traditional. But if I add up both of these, I cannot go over this 23.5 limit if I'm under 50. If I'm over 50, I get an additional 7,500 to save, so I can save 31,000 if I'm over 50. And that's only my personal contributions. So my employer match can go above and beyond that, but my personal contributions cannot go above these numbers, of course, depending on my age. That being said, Slavic is going to turn off your contributions automatically as soon as you hit those numbers, so you don't need to be too worried about it, but I do just want you to be aware of those contribution limits there. Really quickly, any questions between Roth and traditional? Anything there?
For the Roth withdrawal, that's still 57 and a half.
Yeah, 59 and a half. Yep, that's right.
Okay. Now I guess this might be relevant later. For the employer side, we offer these benefits to full-time employees. Switching, if is the integration, if the employee switches from full-time down to part-time and no longer is offered, or from part-time to full-time to where they're now offered, that's all seamless through Venture, and Slavic gets in, like Slavic communicates with Venture, I guess is my question.
Yes, yep. Slavic and Venture communicate, and that should all be very seamless. Yeah, there shouldn't be any issues there.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep moving. So now we have this different option where there's pre-tax contributions and Roth contributions. Again, you can choose whatever you'd like to do here. The 401k is not like other employer benefits where there's an open enrollment period. You can change these things at any time. So I would encourage you to save a little bit more, see how it feels coming out of a few paychecks. And then if it ends up being too much, you can then go in and adjust that. But really, that's the first question, which is how much do I want to contribute? The next question is how do I want these dollars invested? So you have 3 options here for investments. And just so you guys know, like I said before, I'm not a Slavic employee. This bespoke and this pre-allocated both have additional fees of 0.35%. This self-directed does not have that additional fee of 0.35%. So just so you know, with these 3 options, these 2 have additional fees of 0.35, no additional fee of 0.35 here. A 401k is considered a self-directed account, meaning it's up to you to choose the options inside the 401k. So we're going to walk through all of them just so you have a good idea of how that works. So first, this bespoke portfolio. What this one does, if you want to choose this one, is it asks you a set of questions about your retirement. And depending on your answers, it kicks out an investment lineup for you. And you can just say, hey, yeah, I'm good. Let's do it. And then they'll take over the investments for you. But again, an additional fee of 0.35% there. The next is the pre-allocated portfolios. This one's pretty easy to understand. It's just all about how aggressive you want to be. So you can choose conservative, moderate, or aggressive, and they'll take over the investing for you. But again, an additional fee of 0.35% exists in these pre-allocated portfolios. The last is the do-it-yourself option. I think for most people, this is a really great fit. If you enjoy investing, if you feel like it's something that you're good at, you can go in and build a portfolio with these different options available to you. That being said, if you do not enjoy investing, if you feel like it's something you're not good at, you really have 2 options. One would be to meet with me or a member of my team. We can definitely help you build out a portfolio however you would like with these different options. Or if you don't want to do that, you can choose this target date asset allocation section. When you choose this target date section, all of these different target date funds pop up. Now, what's a target date fund? All a target date fund is it's a basket of stocks and bonds that correlates well with your retirement age. So if I was going to retire around the year 2055, I would choose this Vanguard Target Retirement 2055 fund. Now, what this fund does for me is as I'm further from retirement, it takes more risk. So if we look at this bottom right graph, we have years to retirement on the bottom, and then allocation towards stocks on the left-hand side. So when I'm further away from retirement, when I'm 30 years away from retirement, this fund is going to be 90% invested in stocks. Stocks are considered more volatile and more aggressive than bonds and money market. As I get closer to retirement, I become less invested in stocks and more invested in bonds and money market. So these target date funds are really great options, especially if you don't feel like you know what you're doing when it comes to investing and things like that. There's people on my team who use them, even though they have a really good knowledge of investing, just because they're such good set it and forget it type options there. So that's the Vanguard target date funds. And really, that's the second question, which is how do I want these dollars invested? Do we have any questions on the investments before we move on? Okay, well, we'll keep going. The last thing that you'll look at is who do I want as my
Sorry, I was
beneficiary?
muted. We did have a quick question. Didn't realize I was
Oh,
muted.
yeah.
If somebody did want to meet with you to go over their specific portfolio, what's a good avenue to schedule that?
Yeah, at the end, I have my contact information. I even have a QR code that they can book directly on my calendar with. But I'll send out these slides with all of my contact information.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. So the last thing is who do I want as my beneficiary? Again, for those of you who don't know what a beneficiary is, it's the person that receives these funds if you were to pass away. So you do want to make sure this is up to date with whoever you would like to receive this money if something happens to you. That being said, as the 401k progresses and as your life kind of evolves and changes, you want to make sure that this stays up to date. I was recently helping a participant who had been divorced for 15 years, and he learned, and as we looked at his beneficiaries, that his ex-wife was still listed there for 15 years. So he was very relieved to get that changed. So you just want to make sure that this stays up to date and good, so that the person that you want to receive these funds is actually the person that receives these funds. So that's the beneficiaries. Once you do that, you can press save, and then a quick summary will come up with what you've chosen. So your personal information, your contribution rate, how you want those dollars invested, and your beneficiaries. If everything looks good there, you can press continue, and you'll do a quick e-signature page and then submit. So once you've enrolled, then you can set up a username and password. Just some dates to be aware of. First of all, you'll have probably from the 25th until the 1st to enroll or opt out of the 401k, and that's kind of its own thing. So the enroll/opt-out process. Again, it might be a little earlier than the 25th, might be a little later. Your employer will receive an email for that. The next section is setting up a username and password. Unfortunately, you cannot set up a username and password until after the effective date of the plan. So you cannot set up a username and password until January 2nd. So you'll have, again, that enrollment period where you can enroll or opt out. And then after the 1st, you can then set up a username and password. To do that, you're going to go back to Slavic 401k, click either of these login buttons, sign up for online account access here at the bottom, enter this information, press continue, and then you'll be able to set up a username and password. With that username and password, if you would like, you can download the Slavic 401k app. It looks like these 3 little bars here at the bottom. Again, you can manage your 401k from anywhere. You can change your allocations. You can change your contribution rates, whatever you want to do there. You can manage it from really anywhere. If you have any problems with the enrollment process, you are going to want to contact Slavic. You can send them a message through their website or give them a call at either of these numbers, and they can help you out there. Again, I'll send this out so that you have this information. I do have a few more slides I would love to share. Do we have any questions on the enrollment process as a whole before we keep moving? All right, we'll keep moving then. So the last thing that we're going to look at is really shamelessly, I'm going to try to convince you to save in the 401k. And the reason for that is not because I get paid any more money, because I don't get paid any more money, whether you save in the 401k or don't. But I work with a lot of individuals, and those individuals I work with are either in retirement or close to retirement. And the conversation we have varies greatly depending on whether they saved in their 401k or they did not save in their 401k. So those who did not save in their 401k, the conversation is it's very awkward conversation. I have to tell them to work longer, to spend less in retirement. It's just an all around a bad deal. Those who did save in their 401k over their career, the conversation is great. They get to retire when they want to retire. They get to do the things they want to do. So shamelessly, I'm really going to try to convince you to save in your 401k over your career so that you'll be prepared for retirement. So to do that, I have some slides here to show the power of saving in the 401k. So first of all, we have this fictitious participant named Krista. We're saying she's 25 years old. She has a starting salary of 40,000. She saves 6% of her pay and receives a 3% match. So your same match that you get. She has a 3% wage increase annually and an assumed return of 7%. Just some disclosures. You're not Krista. Obviously, you could get better returns or worse returns. This really is just to show the power of saving in the 401k. The first graph we're going to look at is what happens if Krista starts a little bit earlier. So if Krista starts at age 25, by the time she retires, she has $1 million saved up. If she starts just 10 years later, she has 583,000 saved up. Well, how does that make any sense? All she did was save for 10 years, but she has almost twice as much. It's because her dollars had longer to grow in the 401k. So starting early makes a big difference. The best time to start saving on the 401k was the first paycheck that you ever received. The next best time is today. So you do want to start as early as possible. The next graph we're going to look at is what happens to Krista if she auto increases from 6% to 10%. So this year she saves 6%, next year 7%, next year 8%, until she's at 10%. Then she stays at 10% for the rest of her career. Well, instead of having $1 million saved up, she has $1.5 million saved up. Now, the reason we use 1% is because it doesn't feel like a whole lot more coming out of Krista's paycheck. But over the life of her career, she has an extra $500,000 saved up for retirement. So increasing by 1% each year until you're at 10% is a really great strategy there. The last thing we're going to look at is how important the employer contributions really are. So you'll notice over Krista's career, she put in an actual $188,000. That grew to $676,000 through investment growth. Her employer put in $94,000, and that grew to $338,000 through investment growth. So how important is this employer contribution? Well, when you're about to retire, it could be worth up to $300,000 for you. So you do want to make sure you capture that full employer benefit. And just know that you guys have a really rich benefit. It's really awesome. I love seeing it because I can just tell that your employer cares a lot about you. So you want to make sure you take advantage of that. You guys, that's really all I have. Again, this information I will send out so that you have it. I would love to meet with you, talk with you about really any financial related questions that you have. I'm a certified financial planner, so I can help in a lot of different ways. But this is all included with the 401k, so there's no additional cost to meet with me. Other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. Do we have any last minute questions before we jump off?
Yeah, just I guess generic questions for people as they move jobs and their career changes. Strategies for the 401k basically stays with them. Is there anything they have to do on their end to access it or change it? Let's say they move to a different 401k provider. How does that work?
Yeah, so if you ever leave your company or move to a different company and you had an old 401k, it's going to stay at your old company's 401k as long as you would like it to. So for example, if I was working for your company and I had a balance of 10,000, I could leave that there as long as I wanted to, even if I left. Now, most people don't like to do that. They like to just make sure that it follows them kind of job to job. And in order to do that, there's just a few forms that you'll need to fill out that essentially rolls the dollars from one 401k plan to another 401k plan. And really, that just comes down to there's some forms on GoLogix website in your portal that you'll be able to see fairly easily that just says, hey, I changed jobs. I'm rolling these 401k funds over to my new 401k provider. And it's pretty easy to do.
Awesome. Well, your time and expertise is greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, guys. I'll stop this recording and then I'll send